Boy and Dog, Part 6. Light continues, "This is surely an unusual place for a boy." Spark says, "Well, I'm on my way to find the land of happiness, and my papa, he always dreamed of a magical place." Light says, "Many have their heads in the clouds. Few survive our great heights." Dark says, "Great heights needs a base, don't you know?" Spark looks up at them and he says, "Well, is that what you were arguing about a while back?" Light says, "No." Dark was being troublesome, as usual. Then he calms himself down. "Well, now, you've become embroiled in our disagreement, I see." Spark says, "We couldn't help but listen." Dark says, "You heard, then surely you agree I alone am the one to remain." Spark says, "Dark, you are wondrous certain, but we couldn't live without Light." Light says, "There you are, Dark. The boy has made his choice. He prefers that I be the one to reign." Spark says, "You are true, amazing, Light, but we need Dark too." Dark erupts, scattering skies chaotically. "Did you hear that? Did you? I am the one to stay. Be off, I say." Light says, "Never." A horrible battle follows, shaking the world. Spark waves an arm to get their attention and says, "Please." Light and Dark pause. Spark says, "My grandpa's most favorite times in the whole world are when you're together at dawn and twilight." Dark's eyes blink impatiently. "But that isn't an important reason." Spark says, "Dark, if only you were here, it would be cold, pitch black. Nothing could grow. Grandpa and Grandma and Chipper and Violet and me, we would die." Dark says, "Oh dear." "Light, did you hear that?" And Spark continues, "And Light, the earth would bake dry with only you here. Old Nell wouldn't have water or grass to eat. We would burn up." Light says, "You know, Dark, perhaps we've been seeing things too much from our own great height." And Dark says, "Well, what do you mean? What else matters?" Light says, the lives below that we touch, for instance." Chipper barks for attention, and Light says, "Yes, and maybe the dog too." Chipper joyfully jumps up on Spark. Light speaks firmly. "We'll be together only at dawn and twilight, my boy, for when I come, Dark must go." Dark says, "Yes, I must go, but I still exist. Don't forget that." Light's eye opens wide at a new thought, and he says, "Spark, just what are you doing on this mountain top by yourself?" And Spark says, "Chip and I are looking for the land of happiness where my papa might be. Remember, I told you before? Only happy things are there." Light says, "Only happy things? But of course that cannot be." Spark jumps up. "Oh, yes, yes, it surely is. We've heard that, certain." Dark says, "For once, Light is right. We travel over all the world, you see. Happiness, sorrow always go side by side." Spark says, "No, no, not there. Certain not there. That's the land of happiness." Dark says, "On the paths we travel, we see all, Spark, all." And Light says, "That's true, lad. Unless, well, I have seen a very strange, habitation. Most strange." Spark sags against the ledge and says, "We'll find it, certain. It's a secret land, and we'll just have to search, that's all." Small stars form Dark's compassionate smile, and she says, "Well, Spark, one of us will always be near. And Light and I seem to agree on one thing. We must share the universe." And Light says, "True. We almost wrecked the world. Although my dazzling brightness," Dark interrupts, "is nothing compared to my velvety darkness." Chipper hops up, happily chants, "Dark and Light together is might." Spark stoops down and says, "Chip, what did you say?" Chip merrily repeats, "Dark and light, together is might." Spark sighs and says, "Chip." Clouds drifting over Light's face express his sympathy. "And rest assured," he says, "even though your eyes close to my light at times, I will still be there." And he says to Dark, "Take care of Spark and Chipper tonight." And she says, "Of course I shall." Light blends softly into the sky. And Dark says, "Now, Spark, find a resting place. I will cover you with my darkness till you've slept your fill." And he says, "Thank you, Dark. Night." Dark zooms outward, scattering stars every which way. As Spark wearily turns to look for a place to rest, he loses his footing and tumbles down the mountainside with Chipper toppling after. Spark sits where he's landed, stunned. He looks in every direction, but it's too dark to see. And he says, "Where is this place? Can't see anything." He turns to Chipper. "Chip, are you feeling in one piece?" He checks Chipper's body. Chipper frisks about, so Spark turns and looks around and says, "What did we land ourselves into?" Then fatigue overtakes them, and he says, "Come on, Chip, let's find a place to bed down." They search among boulders nearby. Spark comes across small, shallow caves among the boulders. He edges into one, lies next to Chipper, and gazes out. They gradually fall asleep. Upon wakening, Spark crawls out of the cave, taking food for himself and Chipper from the satchel. They begin to explore the area. Then, walking across the blank landscape, they hear the sound of crying. Then a whirling blur appears, and Spark says, "What is that?" They stand mesmerized. Motion, an ethereal, gossamer-like entity, is in constant movement. He swishes and bobs distractedly, bemoaning his predicament. He doesn't notice Spark or Chipper as he says, "Where is he? Where can he be? Oh, I shall never find him." And Spark says, "Pardon me, can we help? Why are you crying?" A startled Motion darts backward, then sees Spark and says, "Oh, it's too terrible. I've looked everywhere, all over the world, and he's nowhere to be found." Motion leans down to Spark and says, "Have you seen him by chance?" And Spark says, Who can't you find?" "Why, my friend, my companion, my comrade, of course." He twirls agitated, then resumes a delicate swaying and says, "He went everywhere with me when I was young. Oh dear, where can he be?" Chipper growls and approaches Motion, and Spark says, "Chipper, what are you doing? Come here, you rascal." And Motion says, "Oh, don't scold him. Everyone's upset when I'm about. It wasn't this way when my friend was near." Distant dark woods are visible ahead. They resume walking, and Motion says to Spark, "Do you have a name?" And Spark says, "I'm called Spark." Motion says, Spark says, my friend Chip and I are on our way to the land of happiness. We'd gladly watch for your friend if we knew what to look for." And Motion says, "Oh dear, let me see. What to look for? They approach the outskirts of the woods. Spark is finding it hard to keep track of Motion, and he says, "Do you suppose that you could slow down or stop moving for a time?" And Motion says, "Stop? Slow down? What are you saying?" Shocked, he takes flight and then floats back down and says, "I am Motion. The whole world would collapse, fall apart without my movement." Spark says, "Oh, pardon me. Don't you ever get tired?" Motion says, "Well, yes, I do at times. That's when I miss my companion most. Oh, what a loss." Spark says, well, if we meet any strangers on the way, we'll ask about your friend. And Motion says, oh, would you? And direct him to me? I shall be ever so grateful. He almost collides with Spark, who dodges just in time.